The emergence of social media and short-form videos has had a detrimental effect on today's teenagers. Shaw and Dong found that short-form videos like TikTok lead to memory loss. I see this effect daily in my Algebra 2 and Calculus students. They often forget content we've learned just days before. By the time my Algebra 2 students come back to my classroom for calculus, they've forgotten many of the algebra procedures that are required to be successful in that class. 3 key terms you need to understand to follow this presentation are procedural knowledge, how to correctly solve a given problem, conceptual knowledge, how to connect and apply procedures to appropriate situations, and procedural flexibility, which is the ability to solve problems in multiple ways. Historically, the mathematics field could not agree about whether procedural knowledge or conceptual knowledge should be taught first. The argument began to dissolve in 2001 when Riddle Johnson et al. Studied the iterative development of procedural and conceptual knowledge. The iterative theory, which says that each knowledge domain helps to grow the other, has been studied mostly in elementary classrooms. Fractions, specifically, have been the center of many studies supporting the iterative knowledge development in mathematics. While some studies have covered mathematical content up through the Algebra 1 level of equation solving, I've been unable to find any study where the iterative method was applied to the Algebra 2 level. Additionally, the field has no agreed upon way of defining or measuring conceptual knowledge, a fact that was important to my decision to complete this final project with a qualitative research design. The proposed study would add to the conversation about procedural and conceptual knowledge development at a higher level of mathematics, potentially helping teachers develop a deeper level of understanding in their students. Thus, the purpose of this study is to see how iterative instruction will affect knowledge development at the Algebra 2 level. The study aims to collect evidence on how the iterative method of knowledge development affects students' procedural flexibility, as well as the most common ways that students demonstrate conceptual understanding. I expect that the iterative instruction will lead to a deeper understanding and that students will be able to consider various methods to problem solving before choosing and justifying the method that they believe best fits the situation at hand. The proposed study would take place at a Mid-Atlantic 9th through 12th grade high school that is primarily white. There is a diverse socioeconomic status in the school that covers a semi-rural, semi-suburban area. The study would take place in an advanced Algebra 2 classroom. I chose a qualitative design for this study because of the lack of agreement in the field for how to measure conceptual knowledge. The qualitative design allows for many open-ended data sources that allow students to verbalize their knowledge, which is one of the most common ways that conceptual knowledge can be demonstrated. After obtaining IRB and site approval, participant consent forms signed by both participants and their parents will be collected. The instructional unit, which will cover rational expressions and equations, will commence with iterative instruction. 3 activities shown to improve both knowledge domains, comparing, self-explaining, and exploring before instruction, will be used daily throughout the intervention. There will be 3 sources of data. The first will come from student self-explanations, written daily, which will be photocopied and the originals returned to the students. In the last few days of the study, students will complete a justification survey comprised of justification questions created by Macy Juski and Starr and applied to questions from the CalPAS Algebra 2 Standards Deconstruction Project. Finally, students will take part in small group task-based interviews which will be recorded. All data will be coded for analysis. Along with multiple data sources to help with triangulation and consent forms that state participants may withdraw from the study at any time, a peer debriefer and secondary coder will be used to help with interpretation of results. All data will be stored on the University of South Carolina OneDrive for security for 5 years. As both the researcher and teacher in the class, my bias will be stated in the report of the study, and ethical considerations have been put in place to help with the validity of the results. As stated earlier, the qualitative design was the better approach for this study because of the lack of agreement in the field of how to measure conceptual knowledge. That said, I believe a mixed methods design would have allowed for a deeper analysis of how the iterative method of instruction affects knowledge development at the Algebra 2 level. As I reflected on the work we did in this course leading up to this final project, I felt the alignment was easy because it had been done along the way. Each week's assignment led into the next part, making the final project flow nicely. I really appreciated the feedback in this course from Dr. Doan and from my partner. Feedback, both good and bad, really helped my growth and understanding of both research designs. Furthermore, it allowed me to look at my dissertation in practice with a better understanding of how to approach designing the study. These are the references I used. Thank you for taking the time to learn about my work.